In the 1970s, during the energy crisis, Jack Delroy hosted a popular late-night TV show called Night Owls. His wife, Madeline, supports him. Despite nominations, the show never wins awards. Then, in 1976, tragedy strikes when Madeline falls ill with lung cancer. She bravely appears on the show, but sadly passes away soon after. Jack is heartbroken and decides to leave the show. However, he later returns, hoping to attract more viewers. He experiments with being controversial, but it doesn't pan out. Desperate to save the show, he plans a big Halloween episode in 1977 called Late Night with the Devil. The show starts with welcoming everyone. Tonight, they are hosting Night Owls with Jack Delroy, sponsored by the Cavendish Group of Companies. It's Halloween special and the show is featuring guests like Christou, Carmichael Hague, Dr. June Ross Mitchell talking about her book, and Miss Cleo James with a jazz performance. Jack is a bit late to the stage, but he finally appears, startling Gus. Then, Jack tells a joke about President Jimmy Carter and his brother Billy being too dumb to spell FBI or CIA. He interacts with the audience, keeping the excitement up and reminding them that it's sweeps week, so their support is crucial. Jack welcomes Christou to the show and asks why Halloween is important for him. Christou says Halloween is when spirits try to finish what they left undone. He says his mind is like a radio, tuning in and out of spirit messages. Christou starts getting messages from the audience. He makes a face like having an orgasm and starts interpreting the messages. There are some mix-ups and confusions, like when he mentions a name, Peterson, but someone corrects him, saying their wife's name is Peterman. Christou then says that's the name she's in the room with. The guest is shocked because she left him for his neighbor 5 years ago, and since then, his golf game has never been better. After that, Christou redeems himself by talking to a mother and daughter about their late son, Edmund, who took his own life, which they confirm. He reassures them that he's in a better place now, bringing them some comfort. As the show continues, Christou receives a message about someone named Minnie, but no one in the studio recognizes the name. The atmosphere becomes intense, and suddenly the lights in the studio go off, and Jack decides to take a break. During the break, Jack praises Christou for his excellent performance and asks him to stay longer. Leo, the show director, compliments Jack on his lighting suggestion and invites him to meet some important guests. Jack declines, saying he needs to focus on running the show and doesn't have time for it. The show resumes, and Jack introduces Carmichael Hague as the next guest. Carmichael announces that he's on a mission to uncover the truth about magicians who claim they can communicate with spirits. He's willing to offer money to any magician who can demonstrate genuine communication with spirits and prove they're not just putting on a show. After criticizing Christou's abilities, Carmichael directly accuses him of being a fraud. He highlights Christou's previous failures before correctly guessing the suicide of Edmund with an old woman and her daughter. Christou, feeling insulted, throws water in Carmichael's face and storms out of the studio. As Christou is about to leave, Jack stops him and admits that the name Minnie was actually meant for him. His late wife, Madeleine, had the nickname Minnie, and he's now an unmarried man still wearing his wedding ring, revealing it to the audience. Meanwhile, Christou and Carmichael continue arguing until Christou suddenly starts spewing black bile everywhere. The show quickly cuts to commercial as Christou is rushed to the hospital, leaving the crew horrified by what just happened. Carmichael tries to rationalize the situation, saying everyone knows about Jack's wife's passing and that Christou's guessing the nickname was just luck. He also claims the vomiting was an illusionist trick called spouting. As the show goes live again, Jack introduces their next guest, Dr. June Ross Mitchell, author of Conversations with the Devil. Jack admits he can't shake the thoughts of the book since he read it. A video plays showing an Anton LaVey-style satanic ritual led by someone named Xander Diablo, chanting Hail Braxas as their demon of choice. The ritual includes disturbing tales of guns, kidnapping, and children bred for human sacrifice. Federal agents eventually burn down the house associated with these activities, with only a young girl known as Lily, who is now a mental patient, miraculously surviving. Jack thanks Dr. June for being with them, and then Lily and Dr. June are interviewed together, almost as if they're doctor and patient. Throughout the interview, Dr. June's eyes seem to subtly show affection toward Jack, unable to hide her feelings. As the interview progresses, Lily makes an eerie promise, staring directly into the camera and stating that Jack will soon be famous. Her gaze sends a chill down the spines of everyone watching. As Jack wraps up the show, he jovially announces that it's time to make themselves look pretty. Lily, in an altered voice, unsettlingly responds, "Don't I already look pretty, Jack?" Jack doesn't seem to notice the change in her voice. Later, Dr. June warns Jack that Lily's behavior is becoming increasingly unpredictable, mentioning that she repeatedly says Jack's name during a fugue state. However, Jack brushes it off, believing Lily is just excited to be on his show. Leo enters the scene and delivers the shocking news that Christou has passed away in the ambulance due to hemorrhaging. Meanwhile, Carmichael speaks with the old woman and her daughter, who fell for Christou's scam. They confess that a woman gave them a questionnaire before the TV filming began, shedding light on how Christou may have manipulated his readings. On air, Dr. June delves into piecing together Lily's life using her knowledge of satanic rituals and parapsychology. She explains that demons thrive on confusion and clarifies that Lily isn't possessed by Braxis but by a demon even more malevolent. Carmichael Riley remarks, "They thrive on confusion, all right," adding a touch of sarcasm. Various ritualistic items are displayed on a table in front of the guests. Carmichael picks up a knife mockingly, claiming Braxis is making him stab himself, then sardonically notes to the audience, "It's good to note how gullible you all are." When Jack asks Lily the name of the demon inside her, she confides in Jack that the name of her demon is Mr. Wriggles because he wriggles inside her head and wriggles out. Dr. June assists her in controlling the demon. Suddenly, the theremin, that eerie warbling instrument often associated with scary stories, blasts over the PA system and electrocutes Jack's sidekick for the show. Glasses shatter, and shocks are felt throughout. Carmichael quickly pulls the plug from the theremin instrument, revealing that it was intentionally connected to the PA system. Lily mentions that it was Mr. Wriggles who caused the disturbance. Jack is intrigued and asks Lily if they can invite Mr. Wriggles onto the show. Lily agrees, but Dr. June immediately interjects with a firm no. However, after some persuasion from Jack and the audience, Dr. June reluctantly agrees, but she warns that she'll need everyone's willing participation. Jack decides to go off-air briefly to prepare for the potential appearance of Mr. Wriggles. June confronts Jack for feeling tricked into agreeing to invite Mr. Wriggles onto the show. Jack defends his decision, emphasizing that it's a significant opportunity to prove skeptics like Carmichael wrong. Gus expresses concern, warning Jack that he might be meddling in something beyond his understanding. However, Jack dismisses the warning, stating that he doesn't care about the consequences as long as he saves the show. Meanwhile, everyone begins preparing for the anticipated appearance of Mr. Wriggles. As the show resumes, Dr. June warns the audience to remain calm and assures them that if the entity is present, she will come through Lily. With a determined look, June unlocks the door for the entity, bracing for what's to come. Suddenly, the demon inside Lily is unleashed by Dr. June. The entity appears confused but soon recognizes Jack, recalling him from an underage Bohemian Grove orgy. It delivers a chilling message, revealing that Jack's last girlfriend died a gruesome death and ominously warning that Dr. June is next in line for its wrath. The demon then turns its attention to Dr. June, expressing a desire to engage in sexual activity with Jack. Shocked and horrified by the truth revealed, June instinctively slaps possessed Lily to silence the disturbing revelation. Enraged, Lily attempts to bite June and then violently jerks her neck about. Despite June's efforts to perform an exorcism on Lily, the demon laughs mockingly as the attempts fail. The chair suddenly levitates and drops, adding to the chaos. Lily returns to her normal state, and June confronts her about the possession. Meanwhile, Carmichael scowls disapprovingly and shakes his head, wanting to point out the unethical tricks employed to deceive the audience. Jack decides to go off-air, putting an end to the unsettling situation. When June asks him about the demon's cryptic mention of having Lily under the tall trees, Jack admits he doesn't have an answer. Struggling to free Lily from the bindings, Jack grabs the ritualistic knife from the table and uses it to cut the strips, finally freeing her from restraint. In the makeup room, Gus informs Carmichael that Christou has indeed passed away, which makes Carmichael concerned for a moment. Meanwhile, Leo approaches Jack with news of an emergency meeting with investors who are interested in purchasing shares of the show. This announcement fills Jack with happiness, as it signifies the return of his show. As the show returns online, Jack turns to Carmichael, eager to hear his explanation for the strange events that just unfolded. Carmichael dismisses Lily's possession as mental illness and suggests it was all due to mass hypnosis. June interjects, stating that she has been treating Lily like family and knows that something more sinister is at play. Carmichael boldly claims that he can replicate everything that occurred with the help of Gus. Carmichael begins his attempt at mass hypnosis, instructing everyone to stare into his spinning, swirling black and white watch. He snaps his fingers, and the watch returns to its regular state. He convinces Gus and the audience that Gus has a fear of worms and will be under his command when he snaps his fingers. Gus starts to feel hot and takes off his shirt. When Carmichael points to a nick on Gus's neck, Gus explains it's from shaving. However, when Gus touches it, worms start to emerge from his neck. As the horrifying spectacle continues, Gus is disemboweled, and copious worms spill out of his stomach. Gus screams in panic as Carmichael tries unsuccessfully to snap him out of it. To add to the chaos, a massive worm pops out from behind Gus's eyeball, eliciting laughter from Lily. Carmichael pretends to struggle to snap Gus out of his panicked state but eventually succeeds, returning everything to normal. Jack, still in disbelief, requests to rewind the tape. Carmichael agrees, and upon playback, the tape reveals that it wasn't what was originally seen. Instead, it shows Carmichael merely suggesting the idea of worms to Gus. It becomes apparent that everyone has been deceived. Lily then suggests they play back the footage from earlier, when Mr. Wriggles appeared, to see if it was also a result of mass hypnosis. When they play the tape, it appears as though everything with Lily was real. However, Jack notices something peculiar and requests to play the recording slowly. In the slow freeze frame, they see Jack's wife standing behind him, shocking everyone. Suddenly, the lights in the studio start to blink and break, causing chaos. Lily, seemingly in control of electricity, splits open her head. Gus attempts to perform an exorcism, but Lily swiftly breaks his neck. June tries to do the same, but Lily uses a chanting amulet to hang her in the air and cut her neck. Carmichael tries to bargain for his life by showing Lily the money check, but she utters abracadabra and burns him from the inside out, leaving him looking like melted ice cream. In a panic, Jack and the audience flee from the studio, desperate to escape the terrifying events unfolding before them. In his nightmare, Jack finds himself in a distorted reality where everyone adores him, and he's finally achieved fame surpassing even Johnny Carson. However, the large worm from the nature expert haunts him, symbolizing his descent into hellish madness. As Jack relives his best moments on his show and in life, they morph into terrifying nightmares. His wife, once dying innocently, now appears violently and menacingly. Xander Diablo leads Jack to Molech, where he is surrounded by people cawing like birds. Jack drinks from a ritualistic cup and is confronted with the visage of his wife, bald and suffering from cancer. She tells him he's on his own now, and Jack, overwhelmed with despair, agrees to end her suffering. He picks up the ritual knife and stabs her in the stomach. Suddenly, Jack snaps out of his nightmare, only to realize he has actually stabbed and killed Lily. He stands amidst the carnage on his set, hearing police sirens approaching, unable to comprehend the horror of what he has done. In shock, he repeatedly mutters, "Dreamers stay awake," as he grapples with the nightmare that has become his reality. Show's over, end transmission ghosts into "So It Is Done," and the movie ends. If you enjoy this wild tale of nighttime antics, give it a thumbs up, hit that share button to spread the horror, drop a comment with your favorite part, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more adventures straight out of the imagination.